So I want to take a few minutes and kind of show you some concepts on the piano to kind of help you figure out where to place yourself in the context of a band in particular genres. I think a lot of times what I hear piano and keyboard players say in today's modern world, where do I play? What do I play? A lot of times, a band director or leader might be a guitar player or another instrument, and not sure what the piano should do. These are just going to be some videos to kind of help you come up with some ideas about basically the philosophy behind the way modern worship is kind of landing right now for the piano, the instrument. A lot of times, what you need to do, the first step that you want to do when you're analyzing a song and trying to come up with some keyboard parts to play for it, is to determine whether or not it is a piano-driven song or a keyboard-driven or a guitar-driven song. And whatever it is, it's important that you either take the front seat role or the back seat role. If it's a guitar-oriented song, the keyboardist really needs to be kind of in the background. And whether you're playing piano or keys, that's going to be an important thing. So I'm just going to just use a couple examples. You Are Good, Bethel. If you're not familiar with that song, I would suggest going and listening to it before watching this. But basically, I would call a guitar-driven song. In fact, if you listen to the recording, you probably would be hard-pressed to hear piano. There's probably not even any piano represented in that song. So what do? I mean, you can either sit out for the whole song and just sit there. I don't recommend that because obviously you're there. But I don't recommend playing as much as you humanly possibly can do. I think sometimes keyboard players will say, well, there's not a piano part, so I need to come up with one, and then they're going to run the risk of overplaying. But a really good way to start on a song like that. There's basically two rhythms that happen in that song. On the chorus, there's the and that's basically what the guitar player does. Right? So what should the piano do? Well, listening to that rhythmic pattern, ba, 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 right? So you want to minimize that. Let the guitar player take the lead there. Now what you'll notice is that I didn't run the board here. I basically did a repeating pattern over here on the E, the A, and the E. And I'm making sure that the rhythm I'm playing is coherent with the rhythm that the drummer is playing. So it's important for you as a rhythm instrument player in this context to follow and match what the drummer is doing. If the drummer is doing a pattern like this, then you don't want to do a pattern like, you don't want to be fighting against that. You want to link and sync yourself up with whatever is rhythmically happening. So that would be like the intro. And since we said that the piano doesn't have a major role here, we want to basically tuck ourselves under the rhythm. So that pattern right there, we want to stay with it. And even if I'm just diamonding on these notes the whole time, I can change my left-hand bass note. And velocity is an important component here too. I'm going to play these higher notes a little bit louder than these, but I'm not going to hammer everything with equal temperament. Go. I mean, it's not terrible, but it's not very dynamic. So what we want to do is play these notes a little bit quieter and these notes a little bit louder and get more of a sound like this. And if you notice, I pedaled these notes. I didn't do. All right? So the right hand is really good with the right hand is to find a pattern and just repeat that pattern. You don't need to make a. You don't want to make it all that complicated. Find a repeating pattern. A lot of times with modern day worship, you're dealing with chords like the 1, the 4, the 6, the 5. Well, the 5 and the 1 and the 5, this is in the scale of A, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 1, 5, 5. I've got the 5 on the octave, and then I've got the 1 here right in the center. And I can just repeat those notes again and again, and I can pretty much play all of the left hand. Right? So that simplifies it because I'm really doing the same thing with the right hand and just changing the pedals with my left hand. All right. So then we get to the verse, and then we have a rhythmic shift. It's important when you listen to the song, listen to that rhythmic shift that's happening, because then it goes onto a 4 on the floor kind of a sound. The kick is going kind of pounding like that. And whenever you encounter a 4 on the floor, the best place for the piano to sit is, again, tucking yourself underneath that on beats 2 and 4. And if you notice, it's another repeating pattern. I just figured out, this is the pattern I want to do. It's basically 1, 2, 4, 1, right? Right? Nothing real complicated here. So, I want to scream it out from every mountain top, your goodness. If you notice, I didn't leave these notes here. I'm still in the 5, the 1, and the 5. I'm not just trying to come up with a bunch of complicated stuff. And I know that's the tendency, and I know it's a real temptation for piano. But I play piano, so I want to do some more interesting stuff. But in the context of a song where the guitars are really driving it, you want to change as little as possible. You want to tuck yourself under. So again, this is a really easy song to illustrate, because most of the changing is going to happen in your left hand. Scream it out from every mountain top. Right? Now, if you want to do a pattern, or you want to switch it up a little bit, you could go. You could do an alternating pattern like this. The problem with that is that you have to think about, if it's a 4 on the floor, bum 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 bum. That triplet pattern may not be good for that, but for the chorus maybe. And I sing because you are good, and I dance because, right? Or on the intro, where we had more of that triplet feel. But whatever your pattern is, you want to keep it consistent and repetitive and really as simple as possible. Because the thing is, when you've got 7, 8 musicians on the stage, if everybody treats their instrument like a solo instrument, you're going to have problems. Okay, so enough of that. A lot of the songs that we do are 4 on the floor, and a lot of times my bass line on a 4 on the floor is taking 3 notes, not necessarily even a full chord, or sometimes less notes is more effective, and just pulsing that 2 and 4. That fits really good. And as long as your rhythm is really good and you're locking into that metronome, that can actually be very effective. So I want your goal to be, how can I slide myself into this overall? View yourself as part of a team as opposed to being a solo player. Okay, and this really applies to the faster songs. There are times in the worship service where the keyboard will become more prominent. Particularly in between songs, during flow time, during ministry time, the piano really at that time should be pushed forward. But in this context, we really just want to just be, if we're not even being perceived, that's actually a good thing. If they don't even realize that the piano is even getting played, that's actually that's not a bad place to be. Okay, so let's move on from there. Let's use another example, and I'm going to switch over to an electric piano sound. Let's take a song like "You Are Good," or actually not "You Are Good." We just did that one, but the opening line is "You Are Good." "Forever Rain," which has a electric piano sound, and it kind of has the start like. So one thing when you're listening to the thing, matching that performance is really important. That melody line that we're really wanting to emphasize is that. Okay, so everything else needs to be subordinate to that. So I'm playing this left hand a little bit quieter. I'm not giving everything equal temperament, just like we said before. See, that melody will get lost if we do that. So we want to kind of play these a little quieter, emphasize that melody. And if you have the ability to put a little bit of delay on it, it's good. The key with any instrument is to know what dynamic to use. Don't overplay, but don't underplay. So with a kind of a whirly sound like this, if you're going to hammer it, if you're going to hit it hard, use a I call it weighting, but I want to put more weight to these top notes. So I'm hitting this chord. I'm not giving everything equal velocity temperament like that. It sounds okay, but a little bit more depth and dynamics is to put more velocity on these higher notes, where these are a little bit down here, a little softer, as opposed to, right? It's a little bit of a subtlety, but a lot of times in music, it's not the major things you do that have the impact. It's the smaller little adjustments. So again, with a song like You Are Good. And oh, I'm running to your arms. Sometimes just those quarter notes are really effective. We don't want to do anything too complicated. And again, if you notice, just like on this song, like on the Plas song, pretty much playing the same note. I'm not trying to switch. Simplicity really is your friend here. And I'm just pedaling with my left hand. So now what would that sound like if I was maybe a piano player and we had a keyboard player? What would I do there? So in that regard, I might do something like, again, I'm just keeping it real simple. So you notice how I'm really keeping this the same. I'm using my left hand to create the motion. And this is not necessarily a principle that applies to novices. I've been playing my whole life, and if I was to play that song, I would be doing just exactly